this is our update on COVID-19 in the San Antonio community. Tonight we have 1,374 cases of confirmed COVID-19 in our community. That's up 48 from yesterday. You'll be hearing a little bit more about that. 46.4% of our cases are now recovered from this virus, and that leaves 689 people in our count of those who are fighting the virus currently. Tonight we have 2 additional deaths to report, which brings us to a total of 48 deaths associated with coronavirus in our community. We have details on one of them that I reported to you yesterday. That person was a white female in her 80s, and then the one that additional that we are confirming today is a death of an African-American male in his 30s. Our condolences to the loved ones of those who we've lost. Today at the City Council, the City Council voted to extend the stay home, work safe order that was revised by the judge and I yesterday. That is extended now to May 19th. And right now I'd like to turn it over to Judge Wolf.
Thank you, Mayor. We're sad to report today with all our county employees mourning the death of Timothy De La Fuente. He was a 27-year veteran of the detention center and a deputy. He passed away at the young age of 53 years old. He had just taken the test for COVID on the 29th, this past Tuesday. We were expecting to notify him of the results of that test today, which were a positive test. But he went home. This morning he had called in to say that he was complaining of pains and a dry cough. His wife was getting ready to take him to the emergency center, but he went in the restroom and he passed away at home. It's a tragedy and one that clearly shows that all of us are vulnerable regardless of our age and regardless of what's happening with our lives. We're continuing to get a big rise at the COVID-related in the jail. We began a few days ago testing as many as we can in the inmates that had been in close proximity to others that had symptoms. These were asymptomatic inmates that we tested. There's still a lot not known about how they pass it on and how that happens. But we've jumped now from some 65 more total inmates in the last 2 days that are positive to a total of about 129. Taking away the ones that have come back and returned and were cured, we're down to about 104 inmates in the jail today. So we're separating those that were asymptomatic positive in units, and separating them also those that were symptomatic and had the COVID also, as well as separating ones that come in. So it's been a real challenge in the jail today, and one we knew we had a problem on, and now we see it beginning to escalate, regardless of all the things that we've done to try to contain it. Tomorrow, May 5th, starting at 10 o'clock, we'll be taking applications for assistance for rent for those people that live in the 26 other suburban cities as well as the unincorporated areas of the county. You can contact our offices at 210-940-1180, and we'll get your application in, and we will process it and see if we can be of help. We are going to open up Bibliotech this coming Monday at 9 a.m. in the morning. And the reason we made that decision to open is because we are in neighborhoods that do not have access to the internet. The vast majority of people in the east side, west side, south side do not have that access. So we're going to start opening just Monday through Friday, limited hours, from 9 o'clock to 5 p.m., holding the 25% occupancy. But we're going to be able to have people come in, be able to give them a ebook reader, an iPad to take home, give them a Wi-Fi connection to take home, provide free printing for them, copying, scanning, and faxing, and the use of our computers within our library. So we think that's an important thing to be able to do to get it going and help people in these areas.
Thank you, Judge. And you did see it on your screen earlier, but something worth highlighting is the fact that our hospital numbers continue to be in strong shape, and that's an important part of flattening the curve and making sure that we're well prepared for any scenario in COVID-19. Something that you don't see on the screen, though, that is an encouraging sign, is we do track the transports related to COVID-19 calls, and that has been declining over the last several days. So we look forward again to looking through this data and making sure that we're continuing to stay on track with social distancing and ensuring that we're containing this virus the best we can with the practices that we undertake. To that note, I do want to say a very special thank you to the vast and diverse faith community here in San Antonio. There has been orders issued from the state as well as the local governments, but everyone has been extremely proactive in the faith community. The churches all over the city have been doing a very good job with the advisements they've been giving to their congregations and the practicing of social distancing, but most importantly, the online services that are being conducted every Sunday and even throughout the week. So we want to say thank you for that. Keep up the great work. You are helping us save the lives of this community, and it's greatly appreciated. As always, you can get the latest on COVID-19 in our community by going to covid19.sanantonio.gov, or you can text COSA-GOV to 55000. Before we go to questions now, I'd like to turn it over to Assistant City Manager Dr. Colleen Bridger, who will go over the highlights of our Health Transition Team implementation plan. That is a plan to really make sure that we're ready as we begin to open up San Antonio in a more significant way. Doc?
Thank you very much. I just want to cover at a really high level and very quickly the 4 progress indicators that the Health Transition Team laid out and how Metro Health and STRAC and our community partners will be collecting that data and monitoring that information, as well as the 3 warning indicators that the Health Transition Team laid out for us. Once we do start to open, how do we know if we might be approaching some additional cases or that second wave? So really quickly, the 4 progress indicators were a sustained decrease in the number of COVID-19 positive tests over a 14-day period. We are seeing that now. We haven't reached the 14-day period. We had a little bump today, but that's due to the additional testing that has happened in the jails. So when you pull those out or you control for those, we continue to see that sustained decline. The second one is the ability to perform tests in all people with symptoms of COVID-19, their close contacts, and those in public-facing roles. Currently, we have the capacity to test 1,600 individuals every day here in San Antonio and Bexar County. We would like to grow that to 3,000 tests. We have a plan for how we will do that, and we will reach that benchmark by June of 2020. So we will be able to perform 3,000 tests by June. We still have a little bit of slack in our testing capacity now. So if you're thinking that you didn't want to get a test because you didn't want to take that away from somebody else who might need it more, I'd encourage you to go ahead and go online or give the hotline a call and get that test scheduled, because we do have the capacity and we do want you to get that test. The third progress indicator is to be able to do effective contact tracing to identify all of the close contacts of those people testing positive for COVID-19. And our goal is also by June of this year to be able to scale up to 175 contact tracers. Those will be brought on as the number of positive cases increases, so that we don't have a glut of contact tracers with nothing to do. But as we get more and more positives, as we expect to happen, especially as we increase testing, we will bring on more and more people who can do that contact tracing. Finally, the fourth progress indicator is what we're calling the Health System Stress Score. This is something we've already been monitoring. It looks at the number of hospital beds, the number of staff, the number of ventilators available, ICU beds, PPE in the hospitals. We will combine all of that into one score and post that. All of these indicators will be posted up on our website daily so that you can track that as well. That will be starting on Monday. Finally, the 3 warning indicators as we start to open up more and more. What are some of the warning signs that we'll be looking for? The first one is what we call doubling time. So when we first started this, our numbers of cases doubled about every 3 days. As the mayor and judge issued more restrictive orders, we got that doubling time to be about 2.5 weeks. So right now we're in that 2.5 week period. If we start to see that doubling time go back towards 2 weeks or a week and a half, working back towards that 3-day figure, that's a warning sign for us that we have more cases, and we need to think about what to do to avoid that. The second one is if we see an increase in the percentage of tests that are positive. What we expect to see as we test more and more people is that, yes, the actual number of cases will increase, but the percent of cases, we think we'll be testing more people, so that percent right now is a little bit under 7% of all the tests we do are testing positive for COVID-19. If we start to see that increase beyond that 7%, that will be another warning sign for us. And then the final warning sign is, again, going back to that health system stress score. If that stress score moves out of the green, which is where it is today, into yellow or red or purple area, those will be warning signs for us that we need to start taking more definitive steps to reduce the transmission. So that's a high-level overview.
That's great. Thank you very much, Dr. Bridger. So we'll go ahead and take questions now.
Judge, Mayor, Dr. Bridger, good evening. Stephen Cavazos with KSAT 12. Just to confirm, are the number of positive cases with inmates at the jail that are being tested for COVID-19, are those numbers also reflected in the numbers that we're seeing tonight, the 1374?
Some of them are, yes.
But not all of them, I imagine.
No, because we're doing phased testing, so we'll continue to test more people every day, and those results will come into the case.
We are live and we are back. Thank you for watching and tuning in. Of course, we just took some time with our illustrious friends, Mayor Nelson Wolff and Ron Nirenberg. And I think Dr. Bridger is there, the Assistant City Manager, former head of Metro Health, former department head of Metro Health. So we watched this today's update, and we'll kind of recap some of the key points out of that in a second. But before we get into it, as always, you have to like, share, tag this, push the broadcast out. Let's get information out there. No matter what you believe, how you vote, what your party affiliation is, doesn't make any difference at all. You let us know. You tell us what you think. You can comment on the screen today, and we'll of course, get a good back and forth going. Today, we will be streaming the comments live so that we can answer them. I've got a good buddy joining us tonight. I think he's actually in the shot right now. I think he's right there. I think he's right next to me. The masked man. He's doing his best Nelson Wolff impersonation right now. I think he may. I'm not sure, but I think he stole that from Henry's Puffy Tacos.
Don't tell him. Don't tell him. Don't tell him.
I think he walked out with the napkin off the head. But we'll get to this mystery guest in a second here. But good friend and councilman from the city of San Antonio. But we'll talk to Clayton here in a second. As always, like, share, tag, push it out. Let's make sure we get the information out so people can have both sides of the issues, both sides of the discussions. Actually, all sides are welcome. It doesn't make a difference. We want to thank our sponsors, as we always do up front. We are filming live at Align Mortgage of Texas, the #1 VA lender in the state and soon to be nation. They are lending across the country, the VA Truth, with Chris Cano right there, and the little bitty phone right there. There's Chris right there at I don't know why he's got a Yankees cap on, but I'll let that slide for right now. I'll let it slide for now. But we're here with Chris Cano. We're thankful that he gives us the space. As you can tell, it's a beautiful facility right here at, I think it's 5900 Summit Parkway, 5990 Summit Parkway. Right up here off of Loman, the Loman's Village area. So it used to be the old Paul Mitchell Salon. It's now Align Mortgage of Texas, and we film here. This office and space is open up for community partners all day long. So if you need a meeting space, those types of things, reach out to Chris Cano and the Align Mortgage team. They love to host different community events. Thank you for allowing us to film this here. And of course, we always thank our friend AAA Garcia. AAA Garcia Bell Bonds. Clayton and I are laughing because we love this guy.
Yeah.
Louis Garcia, as I always start, his favorite catchphrase is 2 ways to get out of the Bexar County Jail. Number 1, they accidentally let you out, which is pretty successful for most criminally charged individuals, or you can bond out with our friend Louis Garcia, man. You simply got to go down there and say Clayton Perry and get a discount. I'm pretty sure that's a discount code.
Boy, would that be a
Good.
discount.
Clayton, we do have 6 feet here. Just look, objects in mirror are further than they appear. No, is that how it is? Or they're closer than they appear. So we are thankful for Louis Garcia, family-owned business, Bail Bonds. Thank you, Louis. We appreciate you being here for us. Tyler Hall and Speedy Salt, as always. This guy and his business, they know when you need salt before you know you need salt, and he shows up on your doorstep at 3 a.m. prepared with your salt for your water softener. He loves us. He takes care of us. He helps us. And then our friend Chris Marty at the Rebate House. This crazy cat's giving away money to people who want to buy houses. He's a realtor who returns money. That's crazy stuff. I don't get it. But Chris Marty, check him out at www.rebatehouse.com. Number 2 realtor in San Antonio, soon to be number 1 from what I'm hearing. He's doing great. Chris Marty, Rebate House. Thank you, brother. Like it, share it, tag it. We appreciate everything you're doing. Tonight we do have a special guest, and I'm kind of stoked about this one. And we have our social distancing gear here. All right, we're ready to go.
Yes.
I'm not even. Clayton and I are. Mine's more to catch food I don't finish eating. Mine's more for a food catching device. My wife is getting pretty pissed at me right now. So Clayton and I, we are happy to have Clayton Perry, council member, District 10, right? Elected to the San Antonio City Council in 2017. District 10 is a north side district heading up to 35, down a little bit towards...
all the way down to Fort Sam.
All the way down to Fort Sam. Clayton has been serving for 2 years, re-elected in 2019. We served together on the council from 2017 to 2019. He is the lone voice downtown of reason and conservative principles. We're going to talk about that tonight, but Clayton's joining us as always, brother. It is so good to see this. I always tell this joke because it's the funniest thing. And we're going to go back and forth on all kinds of stuff tonight. Clayton's going to chime in. We're going to put his ideas out there. And there are things we want to ask him because he had a tough vote today. I'm going to show that here in a second. But my wife, and she's probably going to chime in on this. Hey, man, I don't see the comments. Can we get the comments? My wife will attest to this. She says Clayton Perry is her favorite councilman. I was serving on the council.
And truthfully so.
Yeah. She was sure to let me know that Clayton was her favorite councilman. Man, brother, we're happy to have you here.
Let me see if she's texting
She's
me
probably texting you right now. We're thankful to have you here tonight. Man, you've got your hands full downtown. What are you thinking? What's the feel right now? How's it going downtown at City Hall for you?
Well, let me tell you, it hasn't changed really since you've been on council. There's a tendency to go way, way to the left, and I don't see that tendency changing at all. I had some hope after this last election that things would change a little bit, but it hasn't. It continues to drift to the left, and it's shown on the last several votes. The last several votes have been 10-1, and as you said, Greg, I try to put the common sense touch on things, and common sense does not rule nowadays. Unfortunately not, but I'm going to keep speaking up. I'm going to keep voting the way I feel it should be, but not just how I feel. It's about my neighbors. And some people say constituents, but what my neighbors want in District 10. And let me tell you, it's not just in District 10. I get a lot of feedback from around the city. I don't just stay in District 10. I go around. I check it out.
When you're the lone conservative left, right? Because look, who you're serving with, these people are gone, man. They're as far left and progressive as you can get now. In fact, when we both got elected, they bragged it was the most progressive council in the history of the city of San Antonio. And it was, right? Credit Ron Nirenberg and his progressive policies. But now you're it. I mean, there would be times you and I would be fighting issues. A lot of 9-2 votes, sometimes 10-1. We did split a few times.
A few times.
He would tell me, bro, that's not the right vote.
That was not the right thing to do.
I would tell him, man, I don't know if I'd do that if I were you. But you're the lone voice down there, and today was a perfect example of that on a vote on extending the stay-at-home order from the mayor. So big news coming, right? So we did watch the mayor and his conversation. And just to recap a few things, I want to make sure I recap a couple of points from what we heard from Ron. We did have, and it's important to note, Bexar County Sheriff's Deputy De La Fuente passed away today. So he was tested positive for COVID-19. The judge spoke to it tonight, and as always, any law enforcement personnel that puts their life on the line, wherever you're working at. It could be at UTSA, you're working the campus police, you're on SAPD, you're San Marcos, you're Alamo Heights, Castle Hill, wherever you're going in this city, Chavano Park, our men and women down at the Bexar County Sheriff's Office in the detention center, a life lost in the line of duty or by a law enforcement person is always draws a piece of my heart in, and we pray for Officer De La Fuente. I think it's important that we recognize that up front, just as Judge Wolf did. Positive tested COVID-19, passed away today after passing out trying to get to the doctor's office. Our hearts and thoughts and prayers are with that family, and it is a tremendous sacrifice. And you got to imagine, especially those working downtown as deputies in the detention center, they're exposed to all kinds of their safety issues, their health issues. And we don't think about law enforcement personnel working in the jail often. We think about them out on the streets or making calls, 911 issues, EMTs. But the men and women in the jail are exposed to so many different types of pathogens and disease, attacks. We have to recognize that. Mm-hmm. And one of the things Clayton and I stood for on the city council was, steadfast support for our police officers and firefighters. So,
absolutely.
Sheriff, Deputy De La Fuente, man, we're thinking about you. Your brothers and sisters will take the line from here, man. We are thankful for your sacrifice and your service. So there are some things we're doing today. I put up number one so we can just take a look at. We can be able to get those comments up, you think? Yeah. So total number of confirmed cases, 1,326. Travel-related, 201. Close contact, 601. So 1,326. Look at where the age ranges are hitting, folks. You can follow up on this. 40 to 49 is actually 30 to 39 at 19.16% is the highest group. A lot of the early data told us it was mainly senior citizens. Senior citizens are at the greatest risk, but it looks like a lot of the infections and positive cases are coming from that middle band in there. And I'm still in the 40 to 49 range, thank God. Clayton's up in that 90 to 99.
Wait a minute.
Clayton's in there somewhere. We'll leave it at that.
Okay, that's better.
But you know what? Those confirmed cases. Look, we're as we test more, there are going to be more confirmed cases. But we have seen decreases in the city of San Antonio. We'll get to that in a second. By gender, up there when we're talking about folks who have the mortality rate of the disease. Now, this is no joke right here. So deaths by age group, and if you'll look. Above 60, you're staring at the bulk of the deaths right there. So pre-existing conditions, senior citizens continues to be a flag for the community. And it's 50-50 split, 46 deaths, 2 more announced today. We pray for every one of those 46 men and women and their families. Those are San Antonio residents. And the number of people they've touched, their families are suffering. We want to make sure we recognize that, as well as Sheriff's Deputy De La Fuente tonight. So we got one more case. You can find all this information, by the way, at sanantonio.gov. Just go hit it. It'll all pop up. What do we got on the next one on that? We got there's a little bit more of a heat map. So again, you can see the darker the screen, that's where the bulk of these cases are. That's over in zip code 78251, 78245, 78253. Up north, up there in Clayton's district, they've got a couple of hot spots. Downtown is, and of course the east side over there on the southeast side. The reason that is a hot spot over there was the nursing home situation we ran into as a city, where there was multiple lives lost in that facility. So that's the heat map for the community right there, and of course the rest of the data is matched up. One more screen, number 3. You got something?
On this particular screenshot, what I've asked for is how many tests have we actually done. And I've asked that to be added to this chart. They haven't done that yet, but I think it's important to show how many tests we've actually conducted and how many have actually been confirmed.
Would you say
positive on that?
So Clayton is saying that's a great point, Clayton, because we see the hot spots here, and that could be a misleading data set for those people living. Like I know when I pulled it up and I saw 78251, I was like, what the hell? We're leading the city. Well, actually 09 was up in Alamo Heights. And we were like second, and I kind of freaked out. My wife and I are like, what is going on? Again, the city started this early with not a lot of information.
Right.
The city was struggling to get data and information out. They still are, in a lot of people's opinions. But if we knew they were testing more in there, that's a great point.
And that's what I've asked for to highlight. If you look at the reports that they have, you'll find that number kind of way at the end, and people don't realize how many tests are actually being conducted out there. So I've asked for that data to be added to this slide. Hopefully one of these days they'll put that on there.
All we see is Ron Nurnberg. That's all we really see on all of these briefings. So talk to me about, I'm just curious how the rest of the council's involved with this. Are y'all getting regular briefings? Are you part of the decision-making process, or is it just what we see is just Ron at the end of this thing?
Mostly just the mayor. I can tell you that I do get a report from Eric Walsh every day. He sends out a condensed version of these slides and information on what's going on a daily basis, which is fantastic. It keeps us all in the loop as to what the current situation is. but looking at, okay, what are we going to do, where we're going to, what the policy is going to be, how we're going to execute it, and all that is not really shared with the council. That is by this medical group, you know, with the STRAC and the Metro Health, and people in those places that know the data, the medical data, but you have to look at that overall. There needs to be an overarching policy on this, and that's the part that we're not getting included on.
So that's a huge concern. And part of Ron's first term, and if you got the comments ready, man, let me know if you want to put them up. So we can start answering your questions and stuff. Be ready to put comments up here in a second. I'll let you know where they're up so you can ask questions directly of the councilman since he's in the middle of these decisions. Ron was guilty of that the first couple of years, right? Like there wasn't a lot of inclusion for other people. And I think in a moment like this, you kind of want that inclusion, right? I mean, you represent, a council member represents about 60,000 residents.
Right.
And I think you should be a part of at least some of the decision making. And that's sad, man. I don't understand, you know, why it turns into a one-man show. And a lot of people say it's Nelson running the show more than anything.
Well, you know, I'm not a party to those conversations, but
more inclusion.
I can tell you that we'll get I've asked for this at the very beginning. There's no reason that he can't call an emergency meeting open to the public to discuss these things about the direction we want to go in and the reasons why, that kind of thing. But that is never brought out in the public setting. I found out on some of these decrees, emergency decrees, 30 minutes before it was actually published. And that is not the way to run this city. This city is run by the council districts plus the mayor, and each council district, they're all different. And each council district should have that voice in discussing and coming up with that policy in the direction that we should be going in.
So great point. To recap what Clayton said. So Clayton represents District 10. To recap, if you just joined in, he's been on the council now. He's in his third year. Not getting a lot of information in part of the decision-making process from the leadership. So Eric Walsh, who is the city manager, does deliver a daily report to you. But a great point Clayton made is that each district is so dynamic, it's so different from the next, and they represent, from whether it's socioeconomic, whether it's any demographic you can think of. Age. Each district has a difference, but to not know certain things when you're in the decision-making loop and you've been elected by by the citizens to make these decisions, to be a part of it, to not be a part of it is disappointing. But that is not a trend that's new to the city council.
No.
And look, it's a knock on the whole system. But, and I've said this for years, and you and I fought this battle a lot. Too much happens behind closed doors, and the decision-making doesn't include everybody.
That's
not
right.
that it needs to be, not that there's a vote, we sit there and we're masters of the universe behind a closed door, but it shouldn't be behind closed doors.
That's right.
And when it's behind closed doors, that can get manipulated, right? Mm-hmm. And the decision-making that comes out, then all of a sudden, but you've heard what the councilman said, 30 minutes before one of these declarations, he gets told that there's a declaration coming. That's unacceptable.
Yeah, totally. And I have complained about that since day one, that there's no reason that we can't call a special session or emergency session, whatever, to discuss this before it's implemented and announced. And that should be happening on a regular basis. And to my disappointment, it has not. It hasn't.
Well, by the way, comment in the bottom there when you get a chance what district you're in. Look at that, Mark O'Donnell. There's a District 10 resident showed up. Ray Rodriguez. Okay, we won't mention what Ray just said right there. Look, we got District 10 resident there. Mayor endorsed by the Castro twins. What else we got? Let's see. Victoria, the mayor. Leonard Skinner. Hey, 78237. That's Ray Rodriguez in the West Side. Rowena Sancho, 78228. Derek Lopez. Because restaurants are opening up tomorrow, will y'all be eating out? Let's talk about that. It's a great segue, so thank you for that, Derek. So today the council voted to extend. Now, we know what happened. The governor comes out with the strike force to open Texas. I love the name.
Texas.
I imagine Chuck Norris coming in with all the keys to the businesses, ready to open Texas back up again. The strike force to open Texas. He came out. He gave a plan to open up small businesses, left some interesting discussions on whether he included some places or not. But he's bringing out a plan to open up Texas. And then here comes this conflict with the city of San Antonio saying, hey, slow down. We're going to make our own rules. And today we voted to extend, right? You guys voted to extend to May 19th,
Yep.
the mayor's declaration. But put up the sign that says Perry. I got to show this.
What?
I got to brag about our guy. Put up the picture that
Sign?
says Perry.
What kind of sign do
And
you
I ain't
have
showing you
here?
no political signs. We got one that says Perry. Oh, he's got to find it. It's the vote count. So today, Clayton Perry was outvoted 10-1.
10-1,
So what did
another
you-
10-1 vote.
What'd you vote on today so the citizens will?
Well, we voted on today to extend the stay-at-home order as well as implement the governor's proclamation or his executive order, which there was a difference in wearing of masks, and you're going to hear more about this, about the city is still mandating that you have to wear a mask, but there's no way to enforce that, and the governor was very explicit that you cannot levy any fines or jail time or anything about not wearing a mask. But the way the city attorney interpreted it, we can still mandate everybody to wear masks.
So let me get this straight.
And I read it verbatim, and it was just kind of comical to hear the explanation as to why the city can say one thing, but the governor is saying something different.
So it's very clear the governor's mandates overrule the city of San Antonio.
Yes.
That's not in dispute, right?
Right.
So what the governor says goes. There's your little motion to pass right there. Wanted to show you that. Look at the pride right there on the screen.
Yep.
10-1. That's Clayton Perry, the Lone Ranger right there. And thank you. Look, anytime you see a lot of votes at City Hall and it's always 11-0, you got problems, right? And I say that because not every district's the same.
That's right.
When you have everybody moving like that in the same direction all the time, Cheryl Scully was famous for that. She used to always say, she wanted 11-0 votes. Julian Castro, when he was mayor, I was at City Hall as a chief of staff, and he was always trying to force 11-0 votes. 11-0 votes are really bad. I mean, there's some basic things that you vote for that always get passed. But when you're not having a dissenting voice or somebody saying, hey, are we doing the right thing here?
Right.
11 people in groupthink is not good for government. Somebody has to stand up. And that, my friend, I love to see a 10-1 vote. Did they try to get you to say yes, or they just kind of write you off? And
They wrote me off, and that's fine. I don't care if I'm the lone no vote or if I'm the lone yes vote. What I want to make sure is that those voices are being heard out there that are telling me that they don't agree with whatever the city is coming up with. And that's what's important, is to make sure that those voices are heard as well. And I am always reaching out within my district to find out, what do you really want to see? It's been kind of difficult right now because everybody's at the stay-at-home order, but I still get text messages, emails, phone calls, everything that is available technologically to give me that feedback.
Number one reason for the no vote today, what was it for you?
Well, the number one reason is because we got that disconnect with the governor on wearing the mask. And, why do you put something saying it's mandatory to wear a mask, but you can't enforce it? So how confusing is that to businesses,
just to be
to residents?
Just to be clear, before the governor's mandate, there was a $1,000 fine from the city.
Yeah.
Right? Then the governor comes over the top. And look, I get it, social distancing, wearing masks, you know what, we're going to take care of it. I understand the rules. And there was a $1,000 fine. Then the governor comes over the top and now has removed any penalty for not wearing a mask.
That's right.
But the mayor says it's still mandatory.
Still mandatory.
So basically, there's zero repercussions.
That's right. And to me, it's crazy because it's confusing to our residents. It's confusing to businesses. Do they follow the state rules, which basically says they encourage you to wear these masks, but you can't fine or levy anything against if you don't? So then the city comes in saying, no, you have to wear that mask. We can't enforce it, but you have to wear the mask.
It's an empty threat,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So look, and I think San Antonians, as you've watched them, have been doing exceptionally well.
Absolutely.
They're taking care of each other. They're being careful where they're at, and I think the city has done well, regardless, and I always say this, regardless of who's the current mayor or the city council or any leadership in the cities, this city generally does the right thing 99% of the time, and the city comes together to make things happen. And
Right.
I think they have, as every city pretty much has across the country. I've not seen a city gone off the deep end and lose their minds and revolt against their leadership. But as we continue, so the weird part is, for a lot of people, right, is the governor's trying to reopen the state. And look, I believe certain things need to be reopened. I think it's time. I'll ask your opinion on that in a second. But the city's going the opposite direction, even though the numbers don't necessarily dictate, right? So the city screams to be a data-driven, right? That's Ron Nurnberg's.
Oh boy, don't get me
That's
started.
Ron's air quote, right? We're data-driven. And I'm going to let you take it from here. And then we'll do some questions, but some of the comments popping up. But if you follow the data, does the data tell you you should continue to be rat-holed at home and never come out again and just give it all away in the hopes of meeting some number that we don't even know? We don't even know what the city is looking for. Now, we know today. We'll talk about it in a second. But to reopen the door, when? Like,
Right.
at what point is... And it's easy for people who are drawing a paycheck to say, stay home and avoid work, right? So
Yeah.
take it away on what your piece is. So the data's out there. The data indicates one thing, but the city's going opposite the state and the data. What do you think about that?
Well, I've heard this about San Antonio. We're a data-driven city on making decisions, and that's great. I got an example of last week where the data was absent. There was no data at all to justify taking almost $10 million out of our general fund and adding to this risk mitigation fund about helping people stay in homes, that kind of thing, paying rent, paying food, that kind of thing. I understand that, but there was no data available out there on what the magnitude is, what's the requirement, but yet they said, well, we're going to add $10 million to it. No data at all.
We'll figure it out later.
No data at all, and how are we going to actually distribute it, and what's the criteria, and all that stuff. Zero data, but yet we did that. And now we have the data that really shows the trend going down, but yet we're still trying to ratchet up the requirement to stay home, keep the businesses closed, that kind of thing.
Does the mayor talk to you about what his rationale is behind that? Why to continue it?
We set up this special meeting on Tuesdays that was supposed to be all COVID related, and basically those meetings have gone into reports from these separate committees that are being developed to help businesses and find the money to come to San Antonio, the medical side, 5 different committees to do that. So it's committee reports, and we don't get into talking about, okay, here's our thoughts, this is what we think we should be doing, and have that discussion out there. And that does not happen. So that special meeting that was set up that I called for, I've been calling for this since the beginning of this thing. Why don't we have special meetings to talk about this stuff before it gets
open
published?
To the public.
Open to the public, and before it gets rammed down everybody's throat. And we don't get to that information.
I'm telling you, man, it is as confusing as it gets, right?
Absolutely.
The governors strike force to open up Texas. Ron and I don't know about Nelson so much acting like it's a fear factor thing, but the mayor is definitely, right, ratcheting up, continuing to build up the fear factor element in it. And it's confusing to the public, and people don't know, like Ron has gone so far as to call citizens ignorant and fools because they disagree with him.
Right.
So there's this entire thing. And to find out, as we all know, that there's not this huge level of communication down there. And it's, again, back to leadership by committee. Those aren't, I get it's a committee of experts. We've got a committee of health experts that are working on it. They've appointed a committee of economic experts to do different things. And at the end of the day, people are out there struggling, right?
Right.
And the longer these things get stretched out, the tougher it's going to be. But you got to follow the data. I think at some points, at least the basics piece. So they did say today, hold on, I want to be clear. They do have some criteria. So progress indicators to find out when we can open back up San Antonio, according to Dr. Bridger. A sustained decrease of COVID-19 tests for 14 straight days. So for 14 straight days, if there's a decrease, we'll relax things and open back up. There's going to be more tests performed. So they have to meet certain testing criteria. Effective contact tracing, which means if you get identified as a COVID-19 positive, we're going to go find you and everybody you talk to. So effective tracing, and then a health system stress score. So there are things they're looking at to determine whether or not they can open back up. But man, who's holding that information? So who's picking winners and losers at City Hall, right?
Well, and that's, I indicated that probably about 3 or 4 weeks ago, saying, we've got a federal open up the nation, we got a state open up Texas, and here we have a city and county that are working to open up the city and the county. Well, at some point in time, you're going to have this happening.
Right.
Everybody's got a different plan, and look exactly what happened. You got the state, and you got the city. The city's pushing back on the state, and all of these indicators that Dr. Bridger is laying out, I'm saying, you know, it's not going to make any difference if the governor says, okay, the next step in 2 weeks is 50% occupancy. In another 2 weeks, 75. In another 2 weeks, 100%. So what's all this work boiling down to? It's a lot of fretful worrying about something that the governor is going to make that call. And it's not like he's doing it on his own. He has his own medical staff.
Team of experts. Yep.
Team of experts. You know, and I said this at the Tuesday meeting from Dr. Taylor when she briefed this medical side of the house. I said, Dr. Taylor, if you take professionals, whether it's lawyers, engineers, doctors, and you take these professionals and split them up in 2 different rooms, are you going to get the same result from those two rooms? Absolutely not, because everybody has different opinions, different things that they focus on, and different data that they're going to come up with different solutions. And that's what's happening here. You got the state solution, you got the city solution, and let me tell you, we're putting a lot of work into this, and I think that's going to be overcome by events when the state announces their recovery.
To recap it, and then we'll move on, I want to bring up some of the news of the day and go through some fun stuff with you. But the governor's made the call.
Yeah.
And the city of San Antonio has been at odds with Austin leadership and for quite a while. This isn't the first time the mayor has disagreed.
Not just San Antonio, but I would say Austin, Houston, Dallas. You know,
they're at odds with the leadership of the state. But the city has to follow it, and I think the attorneys trying to find ways around it is getting a little ridiculous. I don't know. I've always fallen myself on the side that we have to start this regimented, open back up the city. And that's because people are losing. You can lose your life to COVID-19. That is absolutely. Now, no one can say, oh, Brockhouse wants people to die. No, I don't want people to die. That's not what we want, right? Nobody wants that. What you want, though, is you want to be able to open back up the city, right, in a regimented way with aggressive testing. They're offering some of that, but the city is still resisting that. And I argue that because, man, we've got 10,000 people down at Traders Village. We were on TMZ News a couple weeks back, and the people at the food bank, there are by the tens of thousands showing up for food. Right. So at some point, right, the cure for all of this, right, the social distancing, the stay at home, the closures of all these businesses, at some point it becomes a negative, right? And people hate to hear this, but the cure for this becomes worse than the actual disease itself. We're not going to know if that's true until months later, right? When we recap all this and we say, was it worth destroying the city over what actually tested positive, what tested negative, the total test count? It's a lot to be had, man, and you're in the middle of those decisions. But to hear that you're not part of a lot of them at the ultimate decision-making pieces, that's not right. You represent 155,000 people, and I always say this. When the mayor shuts out a council member, you don't shut out just one person. You're shutting out everybody that's with them, all 155,000 of them. So let's look at some notes here. They were great questions. Anyway, Salem, most people don't know. Most people don't know that those people in the FDA are in the charge of making decisions for approvals and denials of treatment. Treatment has been huge too, but testing is important. Tina Cortez, who wants the economy to go under? Use the mask and all precautions to get it going. We are at war with lies and inaccurate data. I'm willing to take my chances. If you're afraid to stay home, we have to fight back. That's a good point, right? Take your chance. But you can practice good social distancing. Technically, we need people who can take over the mayor. He's one person, vote him out. James Ramone, he's all over it, destroying the whole country. We don't want the economy to die in a worldwide famine. That's going to be a recap piece, and I'm sure we'll take a look at it when it's all said and done, and evaluate the decision making and things go with it. But look, Texas needs to open back up. The city needs to open back up, but it needs to be very careful, accompanied with heavy testing. Let's take a look at some of as more comments come in. Let's take a look at some of our news of the day stuff in there. Just kind of go random on it there.
You know how many books are going to be written about this?
Man, they're going to write.
I think I'm going to write a book.
Clayton Perry.
Let's get together and write a book.
Hey,
what do you say?
We'll write a book.
Yeah, we'll write a book.
Clayton and Brockhouse discuss Ron Nuremberg. Clayton, the three amigos. Clayton, Ron, and Greg. Hey, don't forget, you can check out on sanantonio.gov. You can take a self-screening test. You can register for a test. And you can also view the COVID-19 portal. Get all your information. Let's say no matter what, get information. 207-5779 is the hotline. Get out there. What district do you live in? Put it in the comments. Councilman Clayton Perry is with us tonight. Take a self-screening. Answer some questions. If you don't feel good, get in, right? Be careful. This is I thought was cool too, Clayton, right here. San Antonio Zoo open for drive-through visitors only. The governor didn't address zoos specifically, but zoos, hey man, the San Antonio Zoo is a landmark location, and boy, they've been struggling.
Oh yeah, man, I tell you what, they're, you know, if they could be open, it would be fantastic to show that kind of support. And you can support them with donations, that kind of thing, and people are. But yes, they do need some help over there in the zoo.
There's a random question from Victoria Cavazos. She said random. Does anyone man the comments during the council meetings online? Well, I can tell you the answer to that.
Yeah.
No.
No,
they don't
all.
answer your questions.
Not at all.
What about those, Derek Lopez here, what about those who are forced back to work and can put their family members in danger who are high risk? You know what, Derek, that's, I think, a personal assessment right there. I'll give you an example. I have a family member. Their employer gave them the option, right? And especially if they were in a high-risk category, employers are going to work with you, and they're going to be, you know, if it's not a place that's going to work with you, I'm not sure you want to work there. Yeah. But I've seen, like in my own personal case, I only have a personal scenario on that. My family member asked questions about it, and they afforded him the opportunity to stay home because he was in a high-risk category. And he had vacation, things like that. It was non-punitive. Nothing was held against him. And I think most, if not nearly all businesses in San Antonio are going to work with you. If you have conditions that make you highly susceptible to things or a family member at home, they're going to work with you, right?
Yeah, because, I mean, the amount of training and expertise that those businesses have put into you, they want to retain that. And this is all going to come to an end at some point in time. And they don't want to decimate their workforce on when they need to be building back up and serving the public.
Yeah, right here, Lisa Pierce. Dr. Wu indicated there was an ability to test 1,600 people a day, and there were only approximately 600 a day being done. That's a true statement. The testing is short, correct?
Yes, it is. And Dr. Bridger explained that a little bit today, saying that we're ramping up to 3,000 tests a day. They're opening up some additional centers and trying to get it up to 3,000 a day. You know, if the supplies are there, I absolutely support that. But you know, I've heard that there's a lack of testing kits, and so that has to come through also from the state.
That news doesn't get out, right?
Yeah.
That news doesn't get out. And we've said from the beginning, there's a lack of information from the city. And look, if the mayor's monopolizing the whole conversation, him and his public relations team, well, then he bears the burden of the responsibility then. If there's not enough testing and not enough communication, which has been consistent, even Bob Rivard, his #1 media ally, well, maybe some folks at the Express News too, but Bob Rivard even said, hey man, not enough testing and not enough communication. So that is out there, so we have to get that ramped up. What else we got? Oh, my man walked off we got a number, put anything else up there. Oh man, okay. I want to show you some examples of what the media is getting insane here. This is just news of the day that I picked up. Of course, we all know about the blame game over disinfected comments. I just wanted to show you this. And boy, I'm telling you, man, the media is all over the place. It's hard to tell who's the truth, where's the hypocrisy, what's going on. It's not just local. Obviously, they're after the president. Bare Facts came out. Remember that poll today or yesterday? Bare Facts came out and said President Trump, everybody hates him, and everybody loves Ron and Nelson. Like, I could have predicted the results of Bare Facts' poll, and 50-50 on the city. Do we stay home? Do we go back to work? Lots of drama in polling, but we do know consistently that a lot of people blame the president for wanting people to ingest Clorox. And then you see the next piece over from CNN. With the next one you got up there, Charlie. Oh. I like it when Salo sneaks in. The random meme. Public trust for CNN, 24%. Gas station sushi, 6%. The people saying Trump doesn't know about medicine consider a 16-year-old Swedish girl to be a climate expert. So we'll randomly throw in the occasional meme.
Yeah.
But there's truth in meme. Memes are sarcastic truth. Sarcastic truth. What's next? Okay, then we saw CNN's, Chris Cuomo pop off, that his wife, she bathes in Clorox to help her coronavirus. I mean, Chris Cuomo is on the media bashing the president for Clorox while his wife bathes in it. You can't get any more rich than that. And I had to use a story from an English newspaper, too. That was excellent. The American news media will not even print it, but Christina Cuomo bathes in Clorox. But the president is an idiot, according to these people, right? Just ridiculous. If you do want to catch up on the governor's open checklist, Open Texas checklist, go to gov.texas.gov. I wanted to put this up there for you. And you can see the individual checklist. Just Google Greg Abbott, Open Texas Strike Force, and the individual checklist will be there for employers, retailers. You can go right down the line to see who is who and how you can open, what are the rules. There are rules associated with it, like the percentage of people that can be in a building.
That's right, 25%. Every public place is designated how many people you can have in there or by the square footage. So what the governor said is 25% of that capacity you can open up. So if your facility could have 100 people in it, now you can only have 25. The next 2 weeks, it looks like he's going to go to the 50% rule. So 50 people could go in there versus the 100. So we'll see how that progresses. And
city's mirroring that, though, right?
Yes.
The city is mirroring the number of people. So someone asked, what did you cough right there for? What do you got?
Yeah,
you got allergies? Is that the Rona?
Yeah,
is that
that's
the Rona?
Rona. I got the Rona.
You got the Rona. All right. Let's see here. We had a good question. Oh, how and when can I watch city council meetings?
I was looking at that. There's a station called TVSA, and it's every system that you have, like if you have AT&T or Spectrum or whomever, they have different channels on that. So if you know what your service provider is, call my office, 210-207-7276, and we can tell you, give us your provider, and we can tell you which station to get on to see those city council meetings.
Wednesdays, you're still meeting on
No,
B
we're
sessions?
not.
That's gone.
B sessions are gone.
Just
it's
A
now
session?
the Tuesday special meeting to discuss these actions.
What time?
They're at 1 o'clock.
Tuesday's 1 o'clock. That's a special meeting.
Right, and then
Every
Thursday,
Thursday, the regular
at 9.
session of the councils that starts at 9 a.m.
Yep.
And you can watch that on TVSA.
Right.
You can go just put in Google TVSA.
Yeah.
And then you can bore yourself for the first 30 minutes. And then when they...
You know, people have told me, man, I watch every one of the council meetings, and I look at them and say, man, you need to get a life. Because those are the most boring.
Hey, man, they're a little less exciting now that I'm gone. At least I get there and get in some
Yes,
arguments.
a little less.
A little less, but you're carrying that mantle. 9 a.m., and they're usually done by noon.
Usually.
So you can watch and see what's happening online. You can stream it. It's got a live video, and it's also available. Past council meetings are also available. Just Google TVSA. You can watch current and previous council meetings. That's a great question.
I have to say that the council meetings have tried to cut down the time, and we've all agreed to a 10-minute rule. Basically, I can only have 10 minutes. And every council person can only have 10 minutes.
This is classic. 10-minute talk. You're on the clock.
And you're on the clock. 10 minutes.
It wasn't always like that.
It wasn't always like that. And some people like you, I always said Greg he's got the gift of the gab. He could talk for hours up there, and I'm sitting over there texting him, saying, "You've repeated yourself 5 times. Shut it down. Shut it down."
You gotta when discussing when in a battle with a Democrat, you have to repeat yourself a minimum of 7 times.
Yeah. But anyway, so now we're limited to 10 minutes. But if you don't get through everything, you can ask for an additional 5 minutes if you have to.
And they're on a stop. They're on a clock.
We got a timer right in front of us
Hey,
saying
my
how much
daughter
time.
just chimed in. Emma she's up in Lubbock. We love you, babe. So it's good to hear you. Thank you for chiming in. What else we got? And by the way, she's up there.
Nice shirt.
Yeah,
she's
nice
Chopped,
shirt. Yeah,
chopped
they
liver.
don't like your shirt.
Chopped liver here.
Actually,
or
your
what?
shirt's cooler than mine. But mine is the Delaware River Rowing Club grunt style. Okay. What do we got? Okay, check this out. This is good information right here. Utility assistance and support for San Antonio residents. Let's just get this out here real quick. So CPS Energy, they're suspending energy disconnections for their customers. Same with SAWS, that's huge. AT&T, overage fees for current customers are being waived. 2 months free to new customers. Wi-Fi, so several parks across the city, and if you're downtown, you may be within a Wi-Fi net of the city of San Antonio, but parks have Wi-Fi nets. One of the biggest things we're learning, there's a huge digital divide. We've always known about San Antonio. But now that kids are staying home, right, they're being homeschooled, It is difficult for them to log on and find Wi-Fi access to get their educational needs taken care of.
We've got several different things going on. Of course, the parks, city facilities, and also VIA is taking their buses around and just setting them as hotspots so they can go in those areas and use that as
okay, look, I've not been the biggest VIA.
I haven't either, but that's a great idea.
I do think VIA is necessary. It's the first building block of our future transportation plan. I agree with that. This whole Connect SA and everything else they're trying to do, boy, that's $1 billion boondoggle out of control. But VIA has its role in place. And that is an excellent use, right? If they take in a bus and they're driving around as a mobile hotspot, that is a huge success.
Yeah,
because a huge VIA idea.
They've taken a lot of buses out of service because the demand isn't there. They've dropped over 50% of their demand. So
yeah, nobody wants to ride in that mobile Petri dish.
So now they're putting those buses out there for those mobile hotspots, which I think was a great idea. Yeah, instead of them sitting in the parking lot.
Yeah, well, hey, they're out there getting Wi-Fi, and kids need the Wi-Fi right now more than ever to upload their homework and schoolwork and stuff like that. So that's good. What we got next? Let's see some of the other news of the day here. Yeah, man, hey, look, Elon Musk, this guy's a riot. Give people the goddamn freedom. Elon Musk bashes U.S. shelter-in-place orders as fascist. Hey, man, that guy owns, what, Tesla, SpaceX. He's a riot. He's killing it. But this is what, look, the tide is turning, right? I think people are recognizing. And whether the peak is happening in certain portions of our country or not, that's based on the country. I see the portion of the country where it's at. New York is on the downswing. Los Angeles and California survived well. They did very well. New Orleans had a lot of problems. So you're seeing different movement throughout the country. But one of the bigger arguments coming up is these forcible, and people are using terms like imprisonment, using terms like fascism, and using terms like people are taking government, this opportunity to expand government strength. And that's a problem for a lot of people, and Elon Musk pointed that out, wanted to put that in there. What we got next? Hey, man, okay, this one's for this one. Look, if the governor suggests making alcohol to go sales permanent, he'll be governor for life.
Absolutely.
Yeah, in fact, if either one of us, put the camera screen back on us right here. If either one of us runs for mayor, we need to do alcohol to go.
All right.
We got to make that commitment. Right?
All right.
We're gonna make that one of our platform items. Micheladas to go.
Yes.
I shouldn't have said that out loud. We'll talk about that one. Either I'm supporting you or you're supporting me.
All right.
And together if we could be co-mayors, that would be cool.
That'd be cool.
We'd have 2 chairs next to each other out there. And we'll run on a platform of alcohol
but
to
I'd
go.
never get to say anything.
Hey, that's not fun. Man, I miss you. I really do miss you.
I miss you too.
What we got next up here? News of the day. Okay. So this is the city's risk assessment chart. I love that it comes from the Bloomberg School of Public Health.
Yeah. I had to roll my eyes on that.
That would be Michael Bloomberg, correct? Right, Michael Bloomberg?
Oh, yeah.
I'm just making sure. I got to thank you, Mr. Perry, for your vote. I like that. Okay, so guidance document. So this is what the city's following on its reopening plan. You can check this out online after we log off. We're going to move on to something else here in a minute. But look, the risk assessment determines when it opens back up. Look at that. Bars are at a high risk assessment. Restaurants, mediums, salons, spas. Hey, man, I'm telling you right now, people need haircuts. I don't know what's going on. My wife tried to cut my hair. She cut my son's hair, but he's 11. This is not 11. This right here. She did right here, and it was successful. I got to give her mad props, but the rest of it is completely, look at that.
Hey, just do a buzz.
I'm not as great as Perry. I'm not as great as Perry.
No, you're not.
I'm getting there. Do a buzz cut. Hey, come on, man. We hadn't done that. Clayton Perry's a retired colonel. We hadn't cut our hair off since, you 1960-something.
Oh,
me,
man,
me
60.
1990.
Yeah, when I was in the Corps at A&M.
The Corps at A&M.
Yes,
Oh, my
yes.
God. Here we go. We need to quarantine A&M. That's the only place that needs to be quarantined.
Dang.
What we got next? Follow up on the risk assessment. Follow up on it because it's important. This information is out there for the city of San Antonio, but these are what the doctors are following. Bloomberg School of Public Health Center, determining when we can open back up, right? And this is a mix, right? Like Clayton said, there's committees for economic and there's committees for health, and these committees are making the decisions, and the mayor has appointed people to these committees. And I'm sorry, I saw a list of some members of these committees, and the people in the community weren't very happy with some of the names on these committees.
No, not at all.
So we got to think about that, risk assessment. So pull the next one up. Okay, all right, we know where we're at. We revised the stay-at-home orders today. I just wanted to show Nelson in his bandana. He wears it, but he doesn't put it on. Gotta love the guy. Now, follow up on this. Look, the Rivard Report's putting out, I would say over the last year, they've been putting out pros and cons, and so I'm starting to use more of their information now.
Yeah.
And I've noticed their information comes from both sides, and they've gotten a breadth of information better than the Rivard Report has. I'd say better than the Express News on their reach, and they just don't write short articles. They dig into things. And when I'm looking at sources, the Rivard Report has picked it up a little bit. Can you put that one back up there real quick? So should I wear a mask in San Antonio? We've already hit that one heavy. It's not the law anymore, and you cannot be fined. If Ron tells you to wear one, there is no fine. I wear it. I'm not going to bullshit. Right now, I mean, you and I are together. I took his temperature before he walked in.
And in this still
it's
6 feet.
6 feet.
Yeah.
It's 6 feet. I got a wingspan of 6 feet. So, look, testing, open it back up, wear your mask. Look, if I go into the gas station, I'm in a QT, I mask up.
Sure.
I do, and I try to keep my space, but if I go into somewhere like that that's a heavy concentration of people that I don't know, I'm going to mask up.
Let me tell you, I went into H-E-B the other day, and there was not a person in there that didn't have a mask on. Now, I was really glad to see that people have taken on that personal responsibility. So, you know, the city doesn't have to tell individuals every little thing that you need to do to keep this city safe. And I trust people because they make the right decisions. Some don't, but on the majority of folks, they do make the right decisions, and they're not going to go out and take their own life, not take their own life, but take any risks that would endanger their life or their neighbors or their families.
And I think that's what a lot of people are saying, right? They're saying personal choice and decision making in this. People are going to, I just believe inherently that most of our citizens are going to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And like when I walk in, and the mayor we didn't have a mandatory mask thing, but when I went into QT, I put the mask on just because it's not that I don't trust myself.
Right.
It's just a lot going on. Do I even know if the mask 100% works? I mean, there's so much conflicting data on that.
That's an issue that nobody's even figured out.
Nobody even knows that the mask is working, right? It's all over the place, but I mask up, and for other people's safety too. I mean, you got to be careful because you could be asymptomatic.
Yeah.
So you may not even know if you're carrying something. And that is worse. And plus around seniors and my parents, if seniors, I tell them to stay home. Like my wife and Anna and I tell our parents, stay home. There's no reason. We'll bring you everything you need. I don't want to run the risk for somebody who's in a high-risk group. So Betty Eckert, we know Betty Eckert. Thank you, Councilman Perry, for helping with food. That is so badly needed right now. What'd you do with the food?
Well, I ate some. No. No, I went out to the food bank. We had a huge food giveaway the other day between Toyota Field and Morgan's Wonderland.
Nice.
And that was such a
How many showed
heartwarming.
up?
Oh man, it was thousands. They were lined up for hours before that, and I got to give a shout out to Marion Thomas, who runs a nonprofit called Blessed Angels, and she does this every week. And 500, 700, up to 1,000 people line up in the parking lot waiting to get some food or other things that help out with their families. So she's running an excellent operation there also.
And we talk about that because it is, at some point, locking people down is killing them. It's ending family lives. It's ending livelihoods, right? And by ending livelihoods, it's running out of food. They're at the food lines, and thank you for that. Thank you for showing up and putting the resources of the city to work for that. But they're moving people. You know, if you can't get out and earn a living, families will put themselves at risk to earn a living because it means food, it means paying their medical bills, it means paying for medicine. All of these things that are happening in people's lives that are driven by the dollar. So, San Antonio is the most economically segregated city in the nation.
Yep.
Ron Nirenberg and all his cronies never want to talk about that. They don't want to talk about how through all his reign and all these people down to city council, right? Those that have served 8 years, those that like Ray Saldana, everybody who was on the council for all these years that thinks they have all these great ideas about building a progressive community over the last 10 years. Julian Castro, when he was mayor in 2009 and won. So for 10 years, we've lived this world, and San Antonio is still the most economically segregated city in the nation.
And
that's on their watch.
I brought that up during a committee meeting before all this coronavirus. I said, how much money are we getting from the state, federal, our own resources here to help those that need the help? And I forget what the total number was. And then I said, well, overlay that on the chart on that the poor folks that the number is rising, that got San Antonio to be. And the funding is going up, and that line is going up also. So to me, we're doing something wrong.
Right. So,
if the funding is going up, that line should be going down on the number of poor people here in town.
That's a great point. Here's the thing, and this is a whole other discussion in itself. For all the city has done the last 10 years with Julian, with Ron, and all their policies, right? The decade of downtown, pre-K for SA, all the, now Connect SA, the Mayor's Housing Policy Task Force, all this spending that the council and all these people, they've passed. And you and I were usually on the other side of those votes. Not usually, almost always.
Yeah.
But it's like all this spending, all these programs and projects, and the economic segregation rises during the entire time.
The entire time.
It's not working, right?
It's not. And I asked that question. I said, what are we, something's not working here. That other line should be going down.
If all this investment has happened, you would think the poverty levels would be decreasing. It's not. It's increasing.
Yeah.
The divide is worse than it has ever been, even though we're spending more than we ever have.
But yet, you mentioned the Connect SA. It's not $3.5 billion in 5 years. After 5 years, they don't even have a cost estimate for it.
Yeah, we're going to come back on that one.
And let me tell you, that drives me crazy. And people are looking $3.5 billion. Okay, maybe that is achievable if you get federal grants, but that's not guaranteed either. And once we start, if we vote this in, and once we get started on that path, then we're stuck with it.
We're going to have that discussion in the future because we're going to have to do something about Connect SA. We can't let that. We can't stop that. So what else we got? Let's wrap up a few things here because we're getting near the end of it. So, well, yeah, go to the Biden stuff. I got to hit this one, Clayton. You may not want to talk about this one because you got to be careful. You're still elected. Alyssa Milano on Brett Kavanaugh. Believe all women. Alyssa Milano on Joe Biden. This is different. He's my friend. Like literally, and this is her post, right? You can't pretend to be the party of the American people and then not support a woman who comes forward with her story. Me too. The thing with Biden, now this is pretty steep, man. And you know what? I got to give it to Joe Biden. He's done a lot of good in the world. He has. And the guy has a story in his life that is just, it's wild. Yeah. From the loss of his family to all his service to the vice presidency to being a senator. It's amazing. He's done a lot.
Yep.
But there are some credible accusations floating up out there about Joe Biden now. And the hypocrisy of the Democratic machine to ignore it, right, at this point say, well, it doesn't apply to Joe because Joe's our friend, I think it's exposing the entire Me Too movement. Now, we know the media loves to lie like this and use this stuff to bash Republicans and conservatives. I lived it in a campaign. They come after you. If you're a Republican or conservative-minded in this city and you say something that's in opposition of the city machinery, you're going to get called out. You and I have been called out in the paper multiple times for whatever our belief was. And they usually try to make us seem like we're idiots or we're fools or we don't understand the community or city. But this thing with Joe Biden is off the charts. And the problem is that you can't have it both ways. You can't say Joe Biden's my buddy and friend, therefore it doesn't apply to him, when you took literally nothing with Brett Kavanaugh. No verification, nobody jumping on board and saying I was there, none of that. And then you got this Tara Reade over here. Watch this case. It is going to get more intense. Her mother called into the Larry King Show in 1993. She filed a report. Multiple people at the time of the report knew about it, at the time of the incident. There's a lot that's going on with this. I think it's going to shake the political ground underneath Joe Biden. And I wouldn't be surprised if this got a lot worse before it went away. I don't think it's going to go away for Joe Biden. Now, the problem is you got Donald Trump over here who's got, Donald Trump's got his issues on these things too. But you can't, but there's not a lot of hypocrisy as it is with this, right? Especially after Christine Blasey Ford. When we came out during that thing and vilified Brett Kavanaugh, put that post back up by Candace Owens. To every woman who attacked Brett Kavanaugh with zero evidence, and there was zero evidence, but are remaining silent on the Joe Biden allegations. Okay, she calls him the lowest vermin of society. But Me Too was always a political plot. Modern feminism is a verified joke. So this is what politics is. And I just want to throw this out there. We're going to have more discussions as we get back into the campaign world. Joe Biden and his problems with Tara Reade are not going away. Yeah, we make fun of him sniffing hair and all that other stuff he does. That's creepy Joe Biden too. And we got creepy Donald Trump issues. I'm not going to say there's not things that go both ways about both sides. But the media is full of it. And these folks who are prosecuting and tearing down people, but they don't do the same to their Democratic friends, you got a problem. I experienced it in my campaign, right? My wife could say something, and they said she's a liar, right? But they say it, and it's true. I mean, it's absolutely horrible what the media is doing. And it's here in San Antonio, too. They attack people who differ with them. The mayor calls them fools and ignorant. There's a lot of problems in our community. When it comes to politics, it's all over the place now. But there's a good one right there. Believe all women, unless they accuse me or my husband, Biden, Clinton, 2020. Yeah, look at those two guys right there. That's a good one. Thank you for that. I'm Joe Biden. I forgot this message. All right. Okay, hold on a second. That's a good one. Remember, I got to tell you what. I was a little harsh on Julian when he called out Joe Biden for not knowing his business. Because I thought Julian stepped out of line during the debate when he did that. But I think that cat was right. Like, I mean, because you didn't really notice it until all this stuff comes out, Joe Biden's problems.
Yeah.
Man, with getting the job done. So a lot left to be done with that. In an effort to level the playing field, President Trump will have his 14-year-old son, Barron, debate Biden. That one you snuck in, man. That one you snuck in. What else we got left? Got any interesting news left we can wrap up with Clayton before we show him our meme world?
No, that's it.
No, that's an old meme right there. I love that one. All right, so we always wrap up with memes, but before we wrap up, since we're getting near the end of it here, man, you and I could probably BS for.
Yeah, like I said, I'm having a hard time getting a word in edgewise. Gift of the gab.
I'm the host, man.
Yeah,
Dude,
host.
I've done propped you up for mayor. I've read your lovely comments. People love you.
Yeah.
That one was up there like, I love Clayton Perry.
Oh,
I'm like,
dang.
what in the hell is
Who
this?
is that?
I love Clayton Perry stuff. Where did that go?
I don't see that.
Look, super proud of the work you're doing down there, man.
Well, I
you're
appreciate that.
You're a lone voice.
Appreciate
and
that.
We're happy to have you here and have a good time. So why don't you wrap up and tell us where you're at with it, what you're thinking about the council, what you would tell people about San Antonio, and what you're trying to fight for downtown.
Number one, what I'd tell people about San Antonio is true. People are still moving into this town. They love this community. People are friendly. We have a lot of space, wide open spaces. The traffic issues, people talk about traffic issues here, but let me tell you, you haven't lived in Houston if you think San Antonio has traffic issues, or a couple other places, Dallas or Austin. So people are still moving here because of what we have to offer here, and I'm encouraged by that. I want to see common sense approaches to a lot of our problems. I don't think we get that a lot. I try to inject that as much as possible. Our budget, we need to remember what our core services, what our city charter really wants us to do as council folks to support this city. And it's not a lot in there about all these other programs that have been established over the last 20 years. We do these budget surveys every year on Speak Up SA, where people are saying, hey, we want to be safe, fire, police, we want to have good roads, drainage, and we want our property taxes to be reasonable, okay? And that's basically it. But yet, all these lower issues continue to bubble above those core competencies of what we should be doing here at the city. And I'm going to continue to fight for those things, the core issues that we should be paying attention to here as a city, and less attention on all of these other government spend programs that have crept up in the last 20 years that is eating more and more of our general fund away to take care of our roads, our drainage, parks, our libraries, police, fire, those kind of issues. So I'm going to keep fighting for that. And we talked about the budget today. The timeline has been delayed a little bit because, to tell you the truth, we don't know what the impacts yet are going to be on this year's budget and how we're going to have to balance it. At least we have to have a balanced budget. We can't run a deficit like the federal government, so we got to have a balanced budget. And it's going to be tough this year, and I think it's going to be even tougher next year because all of this is kind of building up a lack of sales tax, a lack of CPS revenue, a lack of SAWS revenue, and that's the majority of our budget right there. And what are we going to do? Right now, I think Eric said that we're about $180 million short for this year. Well, where are we going to get that $180 million to make up that shortfall? So it's going to be very, very interesting. I think instead of focusing primarily on next year's budget and this budget working time, we got to concentrate on how we're going to make it through this year and then move into next year. We got some big issues.
Point. Your conservative principles are going to be sorely needed when we come into the end of the year because the council's going to have to cut.
Yep.
They're going to have to cut projects, and they're going to have to get rid of stuff that are not core competencies. Your word, core competency, that's a perfect word, right? And if they're not the core business of the city, be prepared to get cut. I mean, they were planning to spend $100 million next year in the Mayor's Housing Policy Task Force. Mm-hmm. Bye-bye. I mean, that stuff can't be spent right now. So who's going to keep an eye on that? You're going to keep an eye on it because you've got to make sure you're standing up for us down there. And I know you're going to. People need you to say, whoa, hold on a second here. Hold on. Where is this money coming from? Because now it's gone.
Yep,
And the
it's
back
gone.
to basics things that the city does, what are those things? Those need to be funded first, and your voice is going to be critical down there, man.
Yeah,
So we appreciate you.
It's going to be tough. Like I said, to
You
make
love
up this
it.
to make up this difference right now, we withdrew $50 million out of our street maintenance program. $50 million. We funded up to 110, I think, this year. Eric pulled back $50 million that had not been
Could have taken
committed.
that from a lot of different stuff.
And you know that to me is not where we should be pulling from first. We should be pulling from these other programs first,
Right.
because that is, like I said, a core competency of our streets.
Yep, that's good stuff, man. It's good stuff. So thank you for being here. We're going to now introduce you to our meme segment. So you sit right here.
Yeah, okay.
You sit right here. We like to laugh for the last few minutes, and I wrap up when we're done here. So let's get a few funny ones in, and hopefully it didn't. Here's how to speak to your women or your wife, during quarantine. Ultra safe. Here, have wine. I just love that one. That's looking dangerous. Are you wearing that? What are you so worked up about? What did you do all day? I accidentally did that one. That's bad. I didn't mean it that way.
That is.
I said it like, oh, what'd you do all day? And then she took it like, what did you do all day? I mean, it didn't work. Could we be overreacting? No. Here's my paycheck. That's safe too. That's safe. What do you got? What's next? We try to stay out of the vulgar. Turns out my top 3 hobbies are eating at restaurants, going to non-essential businesses, and touching my face. Man, that's legit. I touch my face. You know what? I touch my face all the time. Holy smokes!
There it is.
There it is, right there.
Yeah.
Was that I love this one. I don't know why. Was that a T-Rex that was talking to you? Yeah, he just sold me a few handguns. What? Why? He's my small arms dealer.
Small arms. Yeah, the small arms.
I got a friend. Whenever a friend doesn't pay for his bill, and when you're eating dinner, you take a buddy out, and he turns. He doesn't grab the check. It's because he's got T-Rex arms. He can't get the check. I can't pay for this. What do you got next? Summer's coming in San Antonio.
Oh my goodness.
That's actually not that bad, depending upon right now with the lack of pedicures in San Antonio. So that's probably a positive.
That's a positive.
Some of y'all saying quarantine instead of quarantine. I don't like that.
That's kind of why I say it.
Here's Clayton's haircut.
There it is. That's why I'm wearing this hat.
That's Clayton's haircut.
That's why I'm wearing this hat.
This is Bob. His wife cut his hair. He calls it the COVID cut. Don't be like Bob. I love this one. Yeah, she's checking out his text message. Look at the dog in the little pop-up window.
Yeah.
It's a casket.
Casket.
I love it. Here's your, on your phone, autocorrects to holy sit. So that's dumb. I may be ghetto. This is true. I may be ghetto at heart, but my customer service voice went to Harvard.
There you go.
That's absolutely true. I'm not pointing this one at my wife, even though she just texted me to stop talking so much. Think about the to-do list. Let me just, much better.
There you go.
I love this one. Thanks a lot, Mike Tyson.
Oh, that's a good one.
Hold on.
Oh my gosh.
Go back to thanks a lot, Mike Tyson. The first diagnosed case of COVID-19 was Evander Holyfield because he couldn't keep his mask on. Who tried to kill me? I'll give you one damn guess. Carol Baskin. And this one was funny here too. Quarantine day 16. The kid who was good gets ice cream. The other one gets refried beans. You can't tell which is which. Get it? Get it? Everybody from the north side was like, huh? But with this mask, I've stayed free of the coronavirus. So you got what you got going. Oh God. I love Freddie. I love Jason, man. I love Jason Voorhees. Coronavirus. No. The Rona stands no chance against Chuck.
Nope.
We got anything else? If you need 144 rolls of toilet paper for a 14-day quarantine, you should probably be seeing a doctor long before COVID-19. Man, we're getting in the when you work at a bank and 2 guys with a mask come in, but they're just robbing the place. Okay,
no. I just noticed that.
Olympic Games Tokyo 2020. That is good, bro.
Oh, man.
That is good, and you didn't offend people. Holy coronavirus, we need toilet paper. It's a respiratory virus, not Chipotle. Man, we're wrapping up with some
Where do y'all dig
you
these
were-
things up?
Trust
Man,
me,
I
man,
don't-
this is our life right now. You said you were sick. No, I said I have a case of corona. Corona beer changes.
Ebola. Oh my gosh.
Ebola extra. All right. Yeah, working from home. Man, these are hilarious, man. Boy, we hit a home run tonight with the memes. Is that it? All right.
That is fantastic.
All right.
Man.
I'm sorry. We shouldn't, got to have some fun with it. I mean, if we
Absolutely.
don't, we're in a lot of trouble.
And that brings everybody needs to laugh. And I try to bring in some levity in the council meetings. We're way too serious in there. And things need to be shaken up a little bit.
Yeah, it is a tough time. And, but look, people are doing the best they can.
Yep.
And they're having a good old time with it. Sure, some people are having some fun with it. And they're making, that's how we are as a society. And there's a lot going on in the world, and people are challenged, and it's difficult. And we all got to pay attention to what's happening around us. We got to take care of each other.
Sure.
Look, we got the rules. The state of Texas is doing one thing. The city of San Antonio is doing another. Let's just pay attention to who we are. Take care of each other. Be safe. Wear your mask. Wear it when it's appropriate. Social distance. Be careful in the environments you're in. The governor's going to lead the state, and the city of San Antonio is going to have to follow. But we're right there. And as always, man, you get the information, you get the decisions. We appreciate you. Thank you for jumping on board and doing all you can. Share the information, like it, share it, tag it, push it out. We're thankful to Councilman Clayton Perry for being here tonight. Man, it's good to see you again.
Yeah, same
We
here,
always
man.
have a good time when we're together, and it's all about, the information. It's about the data and making wise choices.
There you go.
We're thankful to you and your hard work, man. Keep up the good fight, because you're the
Appreciate it.
only one down there
I
in the
appreciate
game and with the voice, man, and we're thankful for you. We're expecting more out of you the rest of the year.
I'm still having fun. If I wasn't having fun, I wouldn't be doing
There you go.
this.
There you go. We appreciate you, brother. Thank you. As always, man, we appreciate everything you're doing. We're going to black out right now and head out, but as we always close our little show with the little phrase that pays, the broadcast is officially out.
You've been told countless times before that you couldn't use your VA home loan benefit. And time again, you've been fed countless lies. Today was about giving you the opportunity to stand your ground and to fight off the lies of anyone who's ever told you you need to have a perfect credit score to access your VA home loan benefit, or that a surviving spouse needs to come up with a 20% down payment before using their VA home loan benefit. Or maybe you had a short sale. That doesn't mean you can't use your VA home loan benefit again. You've served our country, but you don't own a piece of it. And now that you have the knowledge you need to take the next step, what are you gonna do about it?
Hello, my name is Suzanne Dollar for the National Day of Prayer. And it says in Proverbs that by the blessing of the righteous, a city will be exalted. Every year we come together on the first Thursday of May to be a blessing to this city, to pray over the city. Usually we're downtown at the steps of City Hall or even at the main plaza. But this year is going to be a little bit different. And we are going to be able to just pull from every part of San Antonio, all walks of life, and just ask them what prayer means to them. And we're going to have people come and pray for our city, to pray for you. And so we invite you to come and join us. And all you need to do is click the link in the description below to be updated on the National Day of Prayer for May 7th in our city. Hello, my name